Scrolling through radio frequencies in the dead of night, between the static, a pattern emerges, a signal meant for someone else. This isn't some eerie radio drama. No, you've stumbled upon something far darker and infinitely more real. Welcome to the shadow-filled world of number stations, a mystery that's eluded explanation for decades. Broadcast to an audience whose faces we'll never see and whose motives we can only guess. Number stations aren't some millennial invention. No, they have been on the airwaves since at least World War I. Yep, you heard that right. Over 100 years of mysterious broadcasts. And we're still scratching our heads. You see, during both World Wars, radio technology was a vital channel for sending and receiving real-time information. Except, instead of trending hashtags, these stations broadcast encrypted messages. Numbers, Morse code, and later even synthesized voices were thrown into the airwaves. But here's where it gets weird. These transmissions were never claimed by any country, organization, or individual. But hey, don't take my word for it. Number stations have even caught the attention of espionage agencies from the CIA to MI6. Yet they're still here, as haunting as ever. So how do these number stations actually work? It's not rocket science, it's radio science. These stations typically use shortwave frequencies to send their cryptic broadcasts. Shortwave radio is where it's at. If you want your message to travel long distances, like across continents, and be picked up by anyone with a compatible receiver. Here's the sequence of events. The broadcast kicks off with a distinct sound or a piece of music. After that, you get the voice, either a real human or a synthesized robot, reciting a string of numbers or letters. Sometimes it's a combination of both, just to mix things up. Oh, and don't expect these numbers to make sense. They're meant to be decrypted by the intended receiver using a one-time pad or some other type of cipher. The kicker? These stations transmit at irregular intervals. You can't predict when they're going to go live, which makes them incredibly hard to trace, and no one can really nail down their locations. Now let's delve into some creepy instances of number stations. First up, the Lincolnshire Poacher. It's one of the most famous number stations that reportedly operated out of Cyprus. Named after the English folk song it plays, it caught the attention of shortwave radio enthusiasts and spooked folks for decades. It stopped broadcasting in 2008, but nobody knows why.
Three, 9, 7, 1, 5. 3, 9, 7, 1, 5. 3, 9, 7, 1, 5.
Then there's UVB 76, or the Buzzer, as it's fondly called. This Russian number station has been humming the same monotonous tone since the late 70s. Every so often, the buzz is interrupted by a voice speaking Russian and reading out numbers and names. Seriously, what's that about? This station's still active, so stay tuned.
Николай, Женя, Татьяна, Иван. Николай, Женя, Татьяна, Иван. 82 890. Женя, Анна, Николай, Роман. Ольга, Николай, Анна, Цапли, Иван.
And let's not forget Yosity Sam. Yep, like the cartoon character. This station would transmit data bursts, followed by a clip from a Looney Tunes episode featuring Yosity Sam saying, "Varmint, I'm a-gonna blow you to smithereens."
I'm gonna blow you to smithereens. I'm gonna blow you to smithereens. I'm gonna blow you to smithereens.
Number stations are not just faceless beeps and boops. They have personalities, stories, and creepy soundtracks to match. They've permeated pop culture, fascinated academics, and driven conspiracy theorists mad. Now let's tackle what most people think these number stations are really about: spies. Now, I don't mean James Bond with a martini in hand. I'm talking real-deal Cold War-era espionage. The idea is that number stations are a fail-safe way to send coded messages to undercover agents. Why? Because it's nearly impossible to trace who's tuning in. You could be a spy sitting in a cafe, sipping espresso, listening to a coded message that tells you your next mission. Some encrypted messages have even been decoded, revealing a host of covert operations, military intel, and all that hush-hush stuff. The Cuban Five, a spy ring busted in the late 90s, was said to receive their orders via the Atención number station. They were a group of Cuban intelligence officers arrested in the United States in 1998 and later convicted on charges like conspiracy to commit espionage and conspiracy to commit murder. Now here's where it gets juicy. They were supposedly sending information back to Cuba and were part of a larger spy network called La Red Avispa, or the WASP network. It's been alleged that this group used encrypted communications, possibly even number stations, to receive orders and send intel back to Cuba. Just imagine it, they're in the US, listening to some weird station, spitting out numbers and codes, which then leads them to their next operation. It's a prime example of how espionage can work in the modern age, and how mysterious radio stations could be part of the toolkit for spies all around the world. And you know what the scariest part is? These stations are still active, which means there are still active agents receiving messages. So what's the real deal? Are these number stations just remnants of the Cold War, or is there something more insidious happening? Could it be that these stations are a sort of secret communication highway where coded instructions are given, spies receiving their mission details, and the who knows what else going on? Check out the link in the description to pryom.org. It's a treasure trove of info on number stations that you won't want to miss. So get your butts out there and decode a message, listen in, or maybe just let the mystery marinate. Whatever you do, don't stop asking questions. The truth might just be a frequency away.